back in 2020 is when I decided I'm about to change my whole life, the whole thing, like everything is finna change. So I stumbled across the law of attraction and manifestation, and I also heard about real estate wholesaling. Now, mind you, the pandemic is hitting, right? People are, rest in peace, but people are dying, and everyone is just in this state of fear. And I decide I'm not going back to corporate America, right? So I'm still collecting checks from my job. And I decided that I was going to go on this journey of entrepreneurship. And along with entrepreneurship comes personal development, right? Because if you're going to lead a business and make sustainable income, you got to be a certain level of person. And maybe you've realized that, right? So the law of attraction, I'm watching movies like The Secret. I'm reading books, 4-hour work week. I'm listening to the audios, all of this stuff, right? And mind you, this is back in 2020. We're in 2025, so this is 5 years ago. I've made a lot of mistakes along that journey of personal development. So in this video, I just want to share my mistakes that I made so that you don't have to make those same exact mistakes. And maybe you have already made those mistakes, but hearing it come from somebody else, maybe it'll help you to refine your path a little bit. Take my mistakes and you capitalize off of it. So getting right into things, the first mistake that I made in my personal development journey was overlearning. TMI, too much information. I would wake up and put on a video by Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Oprah, Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, I'm listening to everybody that can potentially take me from here to here, right? I'm waking up listening to that. As soon as that video is over, or those series of videos are over, I'm gonna brush my teeth. And at the time, I was doing real estate. I'm wholesaling real estate. So I just turn on real estate videos, and I'm just learning how to negotiate and do seller financing and all this stuff and cold call. I'm learning all this shit. And then after those videos, I would get into my journal and I'm writing some more. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm at with it. And then I would pick up a book, and now I'm reading the book, 48 Laws of Power, because can't nobody fuck with me, and you will never fuck with me. And then after that, I chill. And at the time, I was smoking a lot of weed, so probably roll up one. Let me put on some more Bob Proctor. Go back to YouTube and study manifestation, the law of attraction. And I wasn't getting anything done, bro, because I was in this perpetual state of I gotta learn, I gotta take in more information, I gotta get better, better, better. And bro, in hindsight, I wasted so many hours of my life. Now, granted, the information was all good information, and it helped me to become the man that I am today. But in the moment, when it comes to accomplishing goals, when we overwhelm ourselves with all that information, we don't know what to do with it, right? Like, what are you going to do with learning how to negotiate, learning how to never outshine the master, seller financing, manifesting your dream life on an island? What are you going to do with all of this right now? How does all of that apply, right? As a matter of fact, it's only weighing you down, and it's taking valuable minutes, hours, days out of your life because you're so focused on the future and becoming this person that you're supposed to become, but you're not really applying it to what you're doing. So the first mistake I made was overlearning. I was just taking in way more information. And what I would do differently if I could is I would learn information and implement, right? And just refine, and I would just refine as I went along instead of overloading myself with information, because a lot of that shit is just information in my brain that I probably forgot is there. You know what I mean? So moving right along, mistake number 2 that I made in my personal development journey is self-isolation. Because I was taking in all that information, I didn't have time to hang out with friends, family. I'm not on the phone. I'm not going out. I wasn't really a human. I was like this walking information center. And whenever I would talk to people, Like my mother, let me use my mom as an example. She'd be like, hey, let's hang out and watch a TV show. And I'm like, nope, I gotta work. I gotta meditate. I gotta make sure that tomorrow I'm right. And one day my mom was like, bro, you're fucking lame. Like, when did you become this lame person? You used to be a people person. You used to bring life to the party. Yeah, and I wasn't that guy anymore because I'm like, bro, I gotta get there. I gotta get there. And that's the problem. Sometimes we become so farsighted, right, that we distance and isolate ourselves because no one else is on that frequency, right? Yes, we're all looking ahead, but we're not all looking at the same destination. So naturally, I isolated myself, and I call it Isolation Island. And that's where I was. And I would just spend my days taking in personal development. At the time, I was smoking weed. So I'm smoking weed. Sometimes I'm exercising, trying to get paid. And early on in my entrepreneurship journey, I was not making any money. So I'm just doing all of this stuff and self-isolating for no reason, you know? And mind you, I said I wasn't making no money, which I wasn't. And that leads to mistake number 3 was a fear of failure. I wasn't making any money because I wasn't taking the information and implementing the information, right? Because I didn't want to fail. I wanted to show up perfect. I wanted to show up as the finished product. And when you're always focused on, who you are versus who you want to be, like there's always going to be a discrepancy, and you bring that discrepancy into different business dealings and conversations, and you're always on the path to becoming something, and you're not soulful in the moment. So internally, it was just a fear of failure. I didn't want to be looked at like a loser or like a failure. And I was hiding behind all of this education that I was, undergoing. It was almost like I was back in school, except it was self-educating. And it just created this weird ass fear of failure. Now with this one, if I could go back, I would fail 10 times more. I would just take shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm afraid to make that cold call, I'm going to make 10 of them. Tell me no, right? And the reason I say I would fail 10 times more is because you learn so much more from failing than you do from reading a book or watching a YouTube video. You got to get out there. And I'm not going to cap, yo. If that just spoke to your spirit, turn this video off and go get to work. You could turn this back on later, but go get to work. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because life is all about making mistakes, doing things accidentally. And they're only losses when you don't learn from your mistakes. That's the only time failure is a failure, when you don't learn and grow from that mistake. So, yeah. Next on the list is I lost touch with my real self, right? Because I'm this, military, I should have just cut my fucking hair and like had a buzz cut. That's how regimented I was. I'm like, bro, I need to wake up. I need to study this. I need to da 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 da. I was whack as fuck. And just at heart, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. My spirit is the best thing about me. That's the best person I'm bringing to the table, is the one that knows how to laugh, that doesn't take much of anything too seriously. Even though it's not a fucking game, it's also not that serious, right? I lost touch with that part of myself. And I think a lot of people lose touch with what makes them unique on their personal development journey, because once again, they've created this gap between who they want to be and who they are. And, with this analogy right here, I want you to understand that becoming who you want to be, there's not a gap. You know what I'm saying? Like, who you are now is just as valuable as who you want to be. So although you may develop yourself over time, stop making it seem like, oh, there's a gap and I have to become an even better like, bro, no. Stop that shit. Laugh it off. Dust your shoulders off and stay in touch with who you truly are, because the moment you sacrifice who you are at your core, all you're doing is working on a shell. You know what I'm saying? You're just a shell. You might look like the same person, but that's not really who you are. So keep your spirit intact and don't let life take it out of you, because life every single day will try to take you away from who you are. And your job is to show up each and every single day, handle these situations incredibly well. But most importantly, you want to handle life as yourself. And if you're not handling life as yourself, then what's the point of handling life at all, right? Come on. And last but not least, taking life too seriously was the biggest self-improvement mistake that I've ever made. Thinking that if I did make a mistake or, switch courses in life and decide I no longer want to do this, or I don't want to learn that anymore, or I don't want to become the person that I've been becoming, feeling locked in, feeling like I'm boxed in. That's the biggest fucking mistake I've ever made when it comes to personal development, is feeling boxed in. Yo, personal development is realizing that all of this shit is perception, right? And at the end of the day, no one has it figured out. Even the person on your screen does not have it figured out. Our job as humans is not to have anything figured out. Our job as humans is to show up as the best version of ourselves possible. That's our job. And when we begin to take life serious and get rigid, we're like rocks. We're not able to pivot. We're not able to enjoy the fruits of life because we're so fixated on the future or this version of ourselves that we want to become, that we have roses lying at our feet and we can't even see them because we're tunnel vision. Don't take life too serious. Bro, you want the joints, right? You like some fine women. If you're a woman watching this, you know that you want, that fine nigga on vacation, you want him to pull up on you, right? But if you really locked in, if you're locked in and you're taking everything serious, your Prince Charming or your queen might walk past you and you might not even see him walk past. And now you just this lonely ass fart. And don't nobody want to be lonely in 25, bruh. The dating scene is trash. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if somebody walks past you, you need to have the foresight and the awareness to see what's going on around you. And that takes practice. So that goes back to the fear of failure. Embrace failure. Embrace that you don't and will never have it figured out. And just live life to the best of your ability, right? Make sure that you're always intentional. You know where you would like to go, but you know that along the way to going there, you might got to make a pit stop over there. You might got to handle some business over there and just make your way back to this path, right? Maybe you never make it back to this path, but ultimately stay in a human's place. Stop trying to be God, in the words of Travis Scott, right? With that being said, I had to burp. With that being said, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. If you want to work one-on-one with your boy, click that link in the description box. I would love to chop it up with you, see if we're a good fit. Also, another link in the description is the Pride. Join my community, like-minded entrepreneurs working on their mind, their body, and their spirit day in and day out. Because, this personal development shit is very paramount and is very important. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to lose ourselves to this thing called life. You feel me? Yo, tap in, man. I'm Lionheart Chris, and I'm going to see you in the next one.